Okay, we're shooting the 1858 Remington today. Okay, this is the 1858 Remington. This is a cap and ball revolver. The way that this is loaded, it's actually a muzzle loader. It takes loose gunpowder. Okay, and what we do is we put it on half cock. We wait for the gun to start cool down a little bit, so we can't see any smoke or anything coming out of it, because we're going to be putting loose gunpowder, rather black powder, into it. Now, normally you're not supposed to load directly from the flask. This is a special flask that has a cutoff. That would prevent, if one of the sparks in the chamber were to ignite it, it would prevent the spark from actually traveling back into the flask and blowing the whole thing up. Alright, so the way this loads is, you got to turn it down, close the little cutoff there, and then you load it directly into the face of the chamber. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 454 round ball, and that's going to sit right there in the face of the chamber. I'm going to rotate it, and then the gun has a built-in lever that I use to press down the ball. Okay, then I'll go to the next one. You're going to see me do this 6 times. Rotate that, press. The next chamber with black powder. Press. Now, as I'm pressing this, there's actually a ring of lead that is coming off. That's actually shaving off from the ball, because the balls are actually a little bit larger than the chamber. And then when I seat it, it basically shaves it down so it fits the chamber, and that's what creates a really tight seal where the gases can't escape around it. Press. There we go. Next one in there. Powder. Ball. I'm putting 35 grains of GUX powder. This is real black powder. There's other black powder substitutes out there, but this is the real thing. Okay, so we got. No, it's the last one. We got all 6 chambers now loaded with powder and ball. Just pulling out the little lead rings and shipped out. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to take some lube. I'm going to put some lube on the face of the chamber. What this does is it prevents chain fire, because what happens is when these when you fire this, sometimes the sparks from one chamber will jump to another. And it's possible to actually, for one chamber to ignite all the others, and you would have all 6 balls shoot at the same time, and you'd have balls coming out of the sides here. So the lube prevents the chain fire from happening. Right, and the last step is I'm going to take these little caps, basically tiny little caps, and those go on the back of the chamber. Right, there's a little nipple that they sit on. And you rotate it, you put the next one. And these are basically the primers. When the hammer basically hits these, and what these do is they create a spark that goes through a little hole that's in the back of the nipple. Alright, so the spark goes through that little hole, it goes into the main chamber, and then it ignites the gunpowder, and then as the gunpowder burns, it creates pressure, and it pushes that ball out the barrel. This is an 8-inch rifled barrel. Basically, I'm hitting a target over there at about 30 yards without too much difficulty. Okay, another nice thing about the 1858 Remington is there's a notch between between the nipples where the primers are, where you can actually rest the hammer, and that allows you to carry this revolver loaded with all 6 chambers full, because you don't want to carry a revolver with the hammer resting, you know, on the primer. Okay, so this gun is ready to shoot. Put my ear protection on. All right, and we're going to try some one-handed action. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that when I cock it, I typically hold it up, because that's what allows the spent primer to fall out. So that's the reason you want to point the revolver up when you cock it, and just get used to that. Cock it. Every time I cock it, usually one of those spent primers is going to fall out. All 6. Right, so another cool feature about this revolver is that the cylinder is removable. Okay. And it was common during the Civil War that you would have a couple of these preloaded in your pocket, and what you would be able to do is you would basically switch out the cylinders. You know, so you would do a quick switch. Basically, this was the equivalent of a magazine change back then. You know, if this seems like a slow process, it's a lot faster than what they were, you know, than single-shot pistols and single-shot rifles that they had at the time. Now, another cool feature of this firearm to be aware of is that, you know, this is the type of pistol that they used throughout the Civil War. This is the type of pistol that Civil War veterans later took out to the West. So basically, this is the type of gun that tamed the Wild West. It wasn't the cartridge revolvers like you see in the movies, where you know they're pulling out these cartridges and they're just popping them in. It was these type of guns, and that's the reason why they would typically carry, you know, 2 and 3 and sometimes 4 guns. You know, you'd see a belt on each, you know, a gun on each side of the belt. It wasn't because they were necessarily shooting both guns at the same time. It's because when one of these would empty out, they would just switch to the next one. So that, you know, that's the reason why they carried multiple guns, multiple pistols back then. Now, one of the features of a black powder revolver is that it is dirty, and pretty much you have to clean it at the end of the shooting session, because black powder is corrosive. And quite often, what I'll do is a lot of times I'll even clean it a little bit between my shootings, because what happens is that fouling, as you can see, makes this stick a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll have a little soap water here on the side. I'll just put that in the brush over there, and I'll just kind of scrub it down at the places where I know that it tends to build up and cause friction. Because there we go. Because we want this thing to go in and out very, very easily. And then I'll also run it through the cylinder itself. Now, one of the things I'll tell people is that even though during the Civil War they would preload these cylinders, you don't want to preload these and put caps on the back of these and put those in your pockets, because once you put caps on this if this drops and that cap strikes a rock on the ground, it's going to set this off. So even though, you know, during wartime they would do that, you know, you don't want to do that today, you know, as you're practicing. Another cool feature to know about this gun is that, you know, this was basically the assault weapon of its day. Okay, you know, there's a reason why it has an 8-inch barrel. You know, this was often used by cavalry to charge into battle. You know, so this wasn't, you know, this was revolvers were used very aggressively by cavalry. You know, they liked the feature of being able to get off multiple shots, and then you know, after they would spend you know, whatever they were carrying, then they would retreat. But this is a very fun historical gun. One of the nice things about black powder revolvers is that they are not considered firearms, so you can pretty much order this on the internet and have it shipped right to your house. You know, it's a great gun, a lot of fun to shoot, a lot of history behind it. Thanks for watching.